Is this the Lethbridge audition panel? Hello? Kate?
3.
Of course, there are
Evening all. I'm going to be right back with you in 2 seconds as soon as I've hooked up. Good evening, yo. Welcome to what is the fifth already? The fifth inaugural, not inaugural anymore. The fifth lockdown session, man. Thank you so much for tuning in. I've got a nice, healthy group of people. It's actually larger than before. We got 12 people and one like. So please keep sharing, man. Keep telling your friends and keep interacting. For some reason, I've still got Kinga's stuff up there, but you can see right here. I'm basically getting your comments and involving them in the stream. I'm going to start off by playing a little bit of music. I always think that is more fun than talking a whole bunch as I make these green screen adjustments. Yeah, this piece that you just heard me doing, I've called Sustained. It's completely new, as is most of the music that you're going to hear this evening. So if you're comfortable, if you're sitting comfortably, man, pull up a chair. We're about to get into this. And of course, do let me know if there's any sound issues. Your feedback is always really, really helpful. Let's do this. How's everyone doing at home? Yeah, I'm good. I'll take that. Having a good time. It's been a crazy week. I don't know about you, but I have definitely had one of the strangest weeks just observing the mayhem that is the UK in this lockdown corona crisis. Wherever you may be in the world, we've got people here from Tenerife, old school buddy, Mr. Mark Tobias, lots of people around the world, but I'm not sure how your government compares with the UK one. Aside from bleach drinker in chief, Mr. Donald Trump, it's a really strange time. Largely because what's happening with the media as well, I'm finding so perplexing and so distressing. If, like me, you switch on the BBC, regular sort of mainstream channels, just to find out what's happening, it's almost like we're being gaslighted all the time, as the popular expression goes. So, if you don't believe me, I'd like you to watch a few little clips with me before we get into some more music, and hopefully it will just sort of frame the sort of state of mind that I'm in at the moment and try and with it. If you disagree ardently, if you disagree vociferously or agree vociferously, please make your comments right here. All right, so I can involve you. That includes you, Benji. Respect, brother. All right, where to start? As I said, it's been a really bizarre week, but one of the things I noticed just this morning was listening to the Today program, which is to some extent not necessarily advisable, but a lot of people and myself have been doing it for most of my life now, since teenagehood, just to tune in and find out what the lay of the land is. I listened this morning, or was it yesterday morning, to a fascinating interview with a particular captain of industry, shall we say, somebody who works for the construction industry and is something of a big wig in that. I couldn't explain why I'd never heard of him before or why he was suddenly on my radio, but here you go. This is Steve Morgan.
From some that he is more cautious than he might have been about these things, perhaps because of his own personal experience. Do you think that will and should have an impact?
Well, human nature being what it is, perhaps it will. I don't know. Boris Johnson's a very, very able and capable prime minister.
I'm sorry. What? Huh? What prime minister? What country have you been watching? It seems completely different to the one that I've been watching, in which 20,000 people have now passed away in official figures, and the prime minister himself has contracted the disease because of a very lax, ridiculous herd immunity policy.
Already proven that before his illness that he was a very good leader throughout the pandemic, and I've no doubt he will try to make the right decisions. But you know, it's a tricky one. It's a very, very tricky one. He's damned if he does, and he's damned if he doesn't.
He's damned because he didn't do anything.
I'd hate to be a politician at the moment. It's a very hard balance to get. And inevitably, mistakes will be made. But as long as we go down the right lines, the right direction, that's all we can do.
Steve Morgan, formerly of Red Road.
All right, cheers, Steve. What I found fascinating about that was, you know, I guess like a lot of people tuning in, what on earth was he talking about, given the observations of the Prime Minister that I and you, I'm sure, have made. But also the sort of rolling out of platitudes. I'm sorry I'm holding my bug mic quite awkwardly. I'm still trying to find the optimum position for it to be heard. Maybe I'll just pop it here for now. Yeah, beautiful. And platitudes, the way that they just sort of roll out these ridiculous phrases that can't make any sense to many people. Bear with me. Platitudes. So what I'd like to do, if you're down, you guys in the comments page and on Facebook watching, is a bit of a platitudes challenge. I found that fascinating, but I've written my very own ridiculous platitude that means very little, but sounds really erudite. Here it is. We are between a rock and a hard place, demanding the government stops treating us like children. We're all in the same boat. Those are just three platitudes, meaningless statements that I've heard a lot from mainstream politicians, and it's getting frustrating. So here's the challenge. While I'm playing some music and towards the end of the show, I'd like you all to make your collection of ridiculous and slightly offensive platitudes that mean nothing, but you might have heard trotted out a lot over the past few weeks. We're all in this together. Stop treating us like children. We're all in the same boat. Things that are demonstrably not true. Yeah. So let me continue on with more stuff. But what particularly galled me about Steve Morgan, when I actually found out why he was on the radio and why he has this very strange opinion of Boris Johnson, doesn't take long to Google and find out that both Tim Steiner, Ocado founder, and Steve Morgan, who we just heard from, are big city big shots who funded the Tory party's recent victory in the general election. You also remember, perhaps from a previous stream and other things, that JCB was a major donor, Dyson was a major donor to the Tory party, and these seem to be front and centre in terms of plans about building ventilators that never materialised. It's almost as though they don't know any other way to do government except through press release, except through crony mate saying nice stuff about you in the media. And when it actually is investigated and interrogated, you find out it's all just hot air. So that's the interesting story of Steve Morgan. But of course, government ministers have been rolled out increasingly over the past few weeks. We've got Rishi Sunak here defending.
Of course, there will be many people who say, don't have an inquest about the past now in the middle of a crisis. It's the wrong time to do it. But I'm going to ask you about it because the government put out a very robust criticism of a Sunday Times story that was widely circulated yesterday, claiming that you'd wasted 5 weeks in late January and February. So you clearly think it's important enough to talk about. Why are you and other ministers angry at this claim that Boris Johnson effectively did not have his eye on the ball at the beginning of this crisis?
Just to pause you there, Nick, from today, it's patently obvious when somebody misses 5 COBRA meetings, contracts the disease themselves, that they didn't take the disease seriously enough. This isn't even up for debate. The question is, what are we going to do with these scumbags once the people stop dying? Let's continue.
Well, it's simply not the case that the Prime Minister did not have his eye on the ball at the beginning of this crisis. I used to work for Prime Minister David Cameron.
I just think it's amazing that people can blatantly come into our national broadcast media and just lie, flagrantly lie. And I think a lot of the tension that you hear from government ministers is to do with this, trying to balance out the health side effects, which, as we've noticed, the tens of thousands of deaths, versus the economic impact. More about that later. But in some senses, as a good friend and erudite journalist, Kerry Ann Mendoza, has pointed out, it's a false dichotomy between the economy and between health. Let's just read that tweet that she put out early this week. Okay, let's get this straight. Failing to contain coronavirus will kill people. The economy failing only kills if we let it, because economic rules are invented. So when someone tells you it's death by virus or death by recession, they're lying, ill-informed or in denial. It's not really about mortality and stopping deaths. It's really about defending their own private interest, and that tension is becoming increasingly revealed. But please, as I said, if you disagree, have countervailing facts, then please drop them in the comments page. And of course, do follow Kerry Ann Mendoza from the Canary. Make sure you subscribe to that. Novara Media, all of these alternative media platforms that are good at just giving us a framework that doesn't make us think, are we crazy? Is this really happening or isn't it happening? Moving on, we've seen it all, really. JCB running the government. And I think another recent crazed thing is this headline that came out, I think today or yesterday, Priti Patel warning selfish rule breakers. Well, just looking at that actual picture, let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. The picture that they used, which I can't zoom into, the picture that they used is of Brighton Beach, suggesting that thousands of people are just sort of flouting the self-isolation rules. I suspect that's an old photograph and not a recent one. And what the government's doing, I mean, you will have noticed, just like me, how conspicuous by her absence Priti Patel has been, our Home Secretary. They're absolving themselves of blame. They're walking around pointing the finger saying, you guys, stop having picnics, stop breaking the rules. That's the reason people have died. And if you've been paying attention, then 20,000 people have died already in official figures. And up to 60,000 people, we've been told by health experts in this country, may die before this crisis before the peak has even dipped. So it makes depressing reading, depressing news. And of course, the wider context is everything that's happened and is happening with the Labour Party. My flabber was entirely ghasted when I saw Angela Rayner recently just waxing lyrical and talking about what she feels her strengths are versus that of the former leader, Jeremy Corbyn. Let's have a gander, shall we?
Politically, what would you say is the difference between you and Jeremy Corbyn?
I'd say that I'm more bombastic, more focused and more sharp, and I think I speak like them. I'd say that I'm more bombastic,
more sound bites. I want you to keep a very close eye on the platitudometer here.
Focused and more sharp, and I think would expect more discipline in a way that Jeremy didn't. He didn't command respect, and he therefore wasn't able to command that collectivism.
No one ever before or after will do a football chant. Certainly no one will be singing, "Oh, Angela Rayner," anytime in the near future. That's not going to happen. So it's very odd that she says that he didn't command respect when in recent times he's probably had more respect from quote-unquote ordinary people as well as Labour members than any leader in living memory. Let's continue.
In the Labour Party and bring people together. I think that's the one thing that I've got, is I've had
bring people together.
The respect and the support of all of the Parliamentary Labour Party and up and down the country, most of the constituency Labour Party.
Alright, homie. This isn't anything personal about Angela. I think she's probably one of the better of a very bad bunch. And by bad bunch, I mean most parliamentarians. But what we see here is just the wanton use of meaningless sound bites. Politicians of her ilk and the ones that preceded Jeremy Corbyn and will definitely be succeeding him are those which don't have any policies and find it impossible to discuss policies. Now that's my barometer in all of these things. Like, what are the concrete policies, proposals that you're putting forward? What's your voting record been in the past? All of this respect of the leader and being respected, and well, those are the things that I can respect, not just sort of acting like a leader.
Members have supported me in this process, and I think that's because they know I resonate and speak to ordinary public. I speak like them, I speak my mind, I don't speak in sound bites. You'll always...
She's just used about 10 sound bites. So what she actually means is she has a northern accent. She's a white woman with a northern accent, and I think that unfortunately, in a sad summation of anti-racism and classism that we've got in our country, that enough passes for working class solidarity, just to have a working class accent. Even though your income, your life outlook, your voting record and your political principles are nothing like aligned with socialism or aligned with a working class. It's not enough. We need to start scratching beneath the surface to accept someone's accent and what they say about their credentials or how they perform in front of the camera as enough of a test of who they really are.
Where I stand with something, and I think people appreciate that. They might not agree with what I say, but people appreciate that. So
yeah, I've had enough. There's a lot more to get through, so I'm going to keep this moving. But one thing I find really fascinating about this time, you know, Jeremy Corbyn's no longer the leader. Everybody knows how much of a fan I was of his, but it's a bit like the lady doth protest too much, methinks. I can't explain why so many people are still getting umbrage and saying really gratuitously weird things about Jeremy Corbyn. Let's have a little gander at some random Corbyn bashing that's happened over the past few days.
The papers. It's very interesting that the Mirror is now very much in lockstep and working with Sir Keir Starmer. There is a closer relationship between the Labour leadership.
That's just unequivocally good news, right? That should be just congratulated as good. At least the newspapers aren't going to try and assassinate the leader immediately.
And the Mirror group than they used to be under Jeremy Corbyn.
And equally, you might say there's a closer relationship between Sir Keir Starmer and holding the government to account than perhaps happened under Jeremy Corbyn's leadership.
Let's just remind ourselves, for the benefit of anyone who's not stupid, that the government, whilst Jeremy Corbyn was in opposition, lost by the largest margin in British recorded history. So not only did Theresa May lose her majority because of the general election in 2017, proving that Jeremy Corbyn was actually quite effective opposition, but actually, on top of all of that, well, he contributed to this massive defeat over the Brexit votes. And of course, changing the dial completely in terms of neoliberalism and what we accept and expect from the state. I find that really interesting that she's flagrantly lying here.
He's written yet another letter to the PM, basically saying, and then Mirror headline is stop treating us like children, for the government to spell out more.
That's my favourite soundbite at the moment. Stop treating us like children. We'll come back to that.
About its lockdown strategy and to be more honest with the public about the conversation it's having behind closed doors. That may be a reference to Sage and the idea there's been some controversy over Dominic Cummings being part of that scientific government.
I haven't even got time to go into all of that, but yes, Dominic Cummings, fabled eugenicist, is influencing scientific policy. This is a scandal. How can people not be incensed by this?
Advisory board meeting, the minutes of which are kept under wraps. So he's holding the government's feet to the fire. Although what's interesting, and we touched on this in the Telegraph last week, is although more of an effective opposition than we've been used to, is it actually going to...
Again, Bolax. Demonstrably Bolax.
The opposition that is the one that's going to be pressuring Boris Johnson over the lockdown, or members of his own party? And on the front page of the Sunday Times, you see...
So that's fascinating. For all of the forensic opposition of Keir Starmer, here is Camilla Tominey, everyone's favourite right-winger, saying that actually it'd probably be up to the Conservative Party to scrutinise the Conservative Party. I shouldn't need to tell you, as I said, 20,000 people have died and the figure is rising, that is not an acceptable state of affairs.
Pressure coming in, not only from ministers and backbench MPs.
Yeah, so there's the Corbyn bashing in video form, but of course it's all there in Twitter as well. Here is the irrepressible, indubitable, great wit, James Ball, once again not working from home in contradiction to Vital. Yeah, Jeremy Corbyn's old, he's working at being a parliamentarian because he cares. That's a terrible thing, apparently. Moving on, and this final piece of Corbyn bashery, which I find interesting, little back and forth between Professor Colin Talbot and Matt Zarb-Cousin. But this whole thing, the Corbynistas, the trots, it's time we put them all back in their place. You know, they already made too much noise. Let's try and forget that they ever existed. Well, I think it's pretty obvious. It should be obvious to us and those who don't even self-identify as Corbynistas, radicalists, socialists by any stretch, social democrats. There is a cabal of people who do professional politics and the rest of us who are being kept out from it. We need to keep agitating to find out, you know, what's going on and to hold people's feet to the fire where they've demonstrably let us down, right? I'm going to close with, well, not exactly close, I'm going to go to a longer clip now that great counsellor friend of mine, Michael Thor, posted very recently. And this is a big speech, a big clip featuring Allegra Stratton and John McTernan, really exposing what the obstacles to Corbyn achieving anything in 2017 or 2019 have always been. This is a clip from way back in 2015, and again, I will interject because I think it has quite instructive things to tell us. And of course, this is significant, the reason that Michael Thor posted it, because Allegra Stratton is now moved from her position at ITV smoothly in a revolving door fashion to now work for Chancellor Rishi Sunak. So you can see that they're, you know, very much in political bed together. Let's have a listen to what Allegra...
Obviously, he looks like he's ahead. You've actually
okay, I've got the figures. So basically on the first round...
So this is still while the hustings are happening. This is still while Jeremy Corbyn is not leader back in 2015.
In the YouGov poll, and John McTernan is still with us. On the first round, Jeremy Corbyn's got 43%, Andy Burnham 26%,
it's ginormous.
Yvette Cooper 20%, Liz Kendall,
now,
11%.
The important thing to say about the vagaries of the Labour leadership poll is that everybody assumed that this perhaps could happen, but what the shakedown would eventually be over the course of the contest is that all the second and third preferences would eventually mean that Jeremy Corbyn came second or third. What we're seeing this evening is that actually you have
in the runoff.
Yep.
So the runoff here means that in the end, what you would have would be a race, obviously, between Jeremy Corbyn, Andy Burnham, and Corbyn will be on 53.
Jeremy Burnham. Stay with me, guys, because this isn't just about waffle. This is about a mindset and the way a particular political class view Labour members, or more explicitly, just you and me, ordinary non-professional politicians.
Yeah. And Andy Burnham on 47%.
This latter figure, the actual eventual result, is scary for the Labour Party, for some of the Labour people I've spoken to this evening, and no John McTernan will say this, because no one thought, at the end of the day, Jeremy Corbyn would come first. The number the Times newspaper has this
Obviously, the nearly 500,000 people that voted for him thought he would come first.
morning, or this evening and tomorrow.
By no one Well, anyway.
Has him ahead. Now, this last number is the margin of error, so that's a bit squeaky. The first number, which is first preference, it's not squeaky at all. No. He is ahead by a country mile. Now, Labour people I've spoken to this evening say this is a necessary part of the process.
Reading it,
Labour
shaking it down.
people...
Again, I'd love her to qualify what she means by Labour people. Does she mean Labour members, Labour voters? I think she means politicos like her, Labour insiders who pull strings and have salaries that vastly outweigh yours and ours.
Labour people need to focus. They need to look at these numbers and think, do we want him to lead our party? And they think over the fullness of time, remember this person's not elected till September. Labour activists will go, oh, actually, I'm not sure I do actually want him.
Thank you very much.
So way back in 2015, there was an open discussion on Newsnight about how there could be a stitch-up to basically colour or prejudice the memberships of Labour activists' opinions of Jeremy Corbyn 5 years ago.
I'm not sure that's clear.
Well, let's just put this to John. So this is a kind of, YouGov doing a service to sleepy Labour voters to wake up and smell the coffee.
Or is it? There may be many people who want a left-wing leader.
Exactly. What does this say, this one single poll say?
Right. The first thing it says is the moronic MPs who nominated Jeremy Corbyn to have a debate.
It includes John...
All right, so anyone who wanted Jeremy Corbyn's politics, agree with him or disagree with him, but they are morons, according to John McTernan.
Need their heads felt. They need their heads felt. They should be ashamed of themselves.
Like Tony Blair said, they need a heart transplant, they need their heads felt. And just remember the language that they threw at us. Trots, bullies, misogynists, racists.
Hang on, you can say that. But then what you might say, this is actually...
They're morons, right? That's the first thing.
They're all morons.
The second thing is...
But these are actually, you do accept there are Labour members and indeed people in the country that do support Jeremy Corbyn. I mean, it's not a chimera.
It's funny, because even 5 years ago, there was still a modicum of fairness in Newsnight. Jeremy Corbyn hadn't ascended, if you like, to these corridors of power and wasn't as threatening.
Parties are full of suicidally inclined activists, and clearly some of our members are suicidally inclined. All
right, I'm sure you guys are probably throwing up in your throat right now, but it's interesting, like, where their mindset comes from. If you are a professional politician and you get a salary of something like £80,000 a year, as well as all the lobbying, outside interests and free trips, then it becomes a particular lifestyle. And if somebody steps into that lifestyle who threatens to expose it, not just expose it, but overturn it, then, it's going to be noticed. One thing, just finally going back to the Prime Minister's questions observations, was that Jeremy Corbyn was the first person in my memory to ask a question on behalf of Jane, the nurse, John, the doctor, ordinary people. It was quite radical of him to make these questions, these petitions, if you like, to Parliament on behalf of ordinary people. And it's particularly resonant now that we're dealing with an NHS crisis, that the things that they mocked him for, being a weak leader, a weak opposition, are now the things that we need most in our country. So this isn't just about exonerating Jeremy Corbyn or rehashing the past. It's about looking how we have the political situation in which we do, such a level or lack of information and such deference. I'd like to end, before we get into some music, which is sorely needed, with the quote that really did just make me explode this weekend. It's another clip from Ma with the incredible Camilla Tominey, and I'll just play it and let you make it.
Take longer to come through with the official stats. It may well get up towards that, in the view of rather more experts than before.
Yeah, grim reading. Thanks you, Camilla. Let's turn, if we may, to the politics of all of this. Front page of the Telegraph, like the front page of quite a lot of papers, including the Express, your old paper, has focused on the return of Boris Johnson, suggesting that this is a really important moment in getting decisions taken more quickly and so on.
That's right, Andrew. And actually, although all of the papers are reporting this line that he is raring to go as of tomorrow, my colleague Eg Malnick in the Sunday Telegraph has got an extra quote, because apparently the Prime Minister was quoting Cicero during a 3-hour meeting at Chequers on Friday to bring him up to speed with what's been happening with the government response. And that quote is, Salus populi suprema lex esto, which I'm sure you'll be able to translate in your paper, Andrew, but for the benefit of anyone who didn't study Latin,
the health of the people comes first.
Comes first, precisely.
The health of the people comes first. Well, it very obviously doesn't come first, because 20,000 people are dead and more in care homes that we don't even know about, and it compares very poorly to the rest of Europe, the rest of the world, in fact. what is going on here? You know, why would anyone care that Prime Minister Boris Johnson is quoting Cicero and it has this sort of plebeian, I don't know, this patrician expression on his face on the front page of the Telegraph? What's going on here? I think it's all about signifying, isn't it? Boris Johnson's just like us. He's suffered, he's gone through the mill, and he'll be there thinking of us as he comes out of this crisis, ignorant of the fact that he individually is one of the best paid politicians in Parliament. Before he was Prime Minister, with outside interests from the Telegraph, specifically from the Telegraph, was paid $250,000 every single year. So he's not like us. He's not just one of us regular people. But what's the signifier and importance of Cicero, a Roman historian, or Tiberius, or any of the other Latin scholars that he might quote? I think it's to emphasize that he's allegedly more clever than us. He speaks this arcane language that nobody else understands. But I also find it quite offensive speaking a dead language when there are so many dead people, not speaking in a language that we easily understand. There's constant coverage of the Queen and what she's going through. And it speaks to our history in this country of just being deferential, of just believing that those people in power are far more intelligent and erudite than us, and therefore know what they're doing. So it's best if we just shut up and don't criticize. And that message is being reinforced from top and bottom. We need to, anyone who disagrees with that, needs to be collating, compiling, and of course, like I am, sort of creating work that challenges those ideas. So it's quite heavy stuff, you know, when you consider what the people charged with looking after us are supposed to be doing, what they're actually doing. And the laughable but also quite scary idea that the President of the United States wants us to inject bleach. It's so important to measure all of this negativity with positivity and with light and with joy. So for the next half an hour, you know what I'm saying? That's right, Tara. If only Corbyn had quoted more Cicero, then we'd all have voted for him, right? Duh. But I'm gonna just get into some music right about now. I've been cycling a fair bit, changing my diet a little bit, but also just making lots and lots of music. I don't want to make the full announcement until probably next week, but I feel a new EP coming on, the Corona mixtape. It's gonna drop, it's gonna pop, it's gonna be hot. Until that happens, everyone nuts. It's amazing, isn't it? While this next piece is playing. Lane China. Hey. Well, even though I can't hear you clapping, I'll be able to feel it. I know. Just keep it moving. I'm not gonna play until everyone's clapping. That means you, if you're at home just talking or online not clapping. Let's have it. Let's go. Woo! We're gonna have a party right now. Clap it up. I'm Yes, I love the fact that the effects are on my God. 1 2 1 2 2 2 2 2. No sound. Still no sound. 1 2. 1 2. Anybody there? Is anybody there? Yep, 1 2 1 2. Alright, this is the final attempt. I just want to know that you're out there. Here it comes. Hey, said we. Sick and tired as truer colors in the sewers gutters. Who was cut us loose and who was losing trust? Just assuming you resume with Satan, eating plate of feuds and all the way remunerating. Exit planning while we still on stretchers hanging. Ventilators dragging Valentine's addressed to Mammon. Brexit flags. Front runners despising pocket line and profit hiking. And the bottom eyes the ones who prophesied. Mammon worship stacking hearses. Bowed heads before the hegemon. And bet lives away to hegemon. Lives wasted, discarded for blind faith in the market. It's a car wreckage, they're looking for ways to restart it. Double charging, price hike, stable genius. His brain may be a penis. No, wait, I'm serious. Your deep thinker's a bleach drinker. I said your deep thinker's a stigmatized and ill-equipped, the sick and dying deaf to the deaf, but they heard immunized them. Sick of answers, sick of answers, sick of delivering taxis, sitting in taxis, and sicker with the vaccine. Power praising, cowards craving, counterclaiming, leaving sour tastes in, never investing in the medics. Just send them in with empty justice that is past the blame. Parcel flames. Hoarding all your trinkets, gorging, misreporting, inconvenient statistic ignoring. Cause they fake preaching, labor leaking, weapons, secret hate speech, and racist feeding. Opportunists jacking prices, casualties ain't stack up right. Wait, the true colors must be black and white. Shooting the messengers, deflect the questions, then they wedded to weapons, fuel, and consider our deaths a solution. Hey, you can see the truth now. It's all out, it's all loose now. Word up, Cindy Lauper. I'm glad you can hear now. I was just rapping for about 5 minutes in silence. But that's a new track that I'm going to be dropping again in future weeks. Since I now have you all hearing me nice and audibly, even though I'm holding this mic kind of awkwardly, that rhymed, I'm going to do the final freestyle of the day. It's about that time. So for the last 3 minutes of this, I want you to drop as many random words in the comments page. Anyone who's been here before, you know the drill. All right. I want you to just leave as many comments in 3 minutes, and let's see if I can, drop a little bit of a freestyle. I'm trying to multitask as I'm setting up the countdown, which never seems to work like I want it to, but we're nearly there. And there we go. Here's our 3-minute counter. It's really mad that I set it up beforehand. Thank you. We can see the 3 minutes right there, right? Good. I see a yes. All right, we're going to start there with a nice big comment from Tuli Suman. Please, Suminen even, please keep your comments nice and lively, and let's get busy. 3 minutes of rap to close this out with. Audible rap, more to the point. Let's go. 1 2 1 2. Hey, hey, uh-huh. 1 2 1 2. 1 2 1 2. 1 2 1 2. Oh, this is great. I'm feeling your energy already, people. Keep throwing in some random words. I ain't even started rapping yet. I hope you can hear me nice and clear. 1 1 1 2. We be the best on the microphone. Got some words you suggest. It's party vibes. Yep, start the time. I got these rhymes to invest. My name is S, you can spell it with an S on the chest. Yeah, my mind digress, but like Tully over there, I must say yes. Yeah, I'll come and step in. I'm a freestyle for 2 minutes or more seconds. What can I say on the mic? It's a profession. And after this, I'm gonna drink some disinfectant. Oh, this president can get lost. We could kill him, give him a pint of Domestos. Woo! On the microphone, a rapid starts. I don't even wanna have a sticky heart. Whew. because I'm here with this raw served. But hang on, Kinga, that's like 4 words. Don't matter though, I got a fatter flow. And on the microphone, yo, I will snack it slow. Yo, I got a lot of power, and I got the flowers in me like a cauliflower. Woo. I got warm, and last week I prepared cauliflower popcorn. It was great, and it was nutritious. And now I'm here on the mic, I'm getting vicious. We gonna kick it, and don't stop it. I'm here on the timeline, run out of comments. All these lyricists don't really want it, but what can we say? The government just cares for profit. Whew, because you know that we blazed it. I don't even know what a turkey basted is. What can we say? Yeah, she maced it. She made a reading mistake and then she pasted. Based her. I make it up upon the microphone. What we place her. I ain't a waster. I grab the microphone here and I make up words every time. There's 1 minute left. I'm here on the microphone. I'll never lose breath. Whew, because you know I got the one. I ain't been seen like Kim Jong-un. And it's always pretty clear there might not be a leader in the whole of North Korea. Whew, we're gonna start, yo. They got the truth hid behind an embargo. So 1, 2, that's the rules. I got my brain gems and the jewels. That's the way I handle ya. Don't matter, rapping to Benji Sandler. Whew. And that's the way we break the rules. Like the way he just spelled jewel. It's all great. We're gonna rap it. Cause you can see my flabber has been gasted. Because we're here just for starters. And I've got laughter like ha ha ha. Whew. Because you know that I rap it bastard. And I'm very flabbergasted. And I rap it chapters. And you can see it, I've gasted my flabber. Ooh, we're gonna keep flipping. I'm on the microphone. Today I eat chicken. It's all great with a veggie flow. But I'll be on the track with a professional flow. Yeah, with the beat right back again. Only 10 seconds left just for practicing. Yeah, I ain't forgot things. It sounds like safety, Haiti cop pins. Because that's the way we dropped in. She's giving us some options. Because you know that it's worse. I'm kicking the verse. I hate Katie and Britain first. Wow, because you know I make stands. I'm gonna close it down like the vape brand. Because I'm gonna rip a flow. And I'll stop like smoking smoking glycerols. Woo! I got a lot of plans and strong hands. And after this, you could line all my lyrics from here to Scotland. Well, as you can tell, that's the end of the show. That's about all I got for today. It's overcast outside, but yeah, I'm sweating more profusely than before. I've also discovered that this microphone needs batteries, and I probably need to just tape it to my face in some way. But thank you so much for your feedback, for your involvement. Spread the word. This is getting better and better. The sound is going to improve. The content's going to improve. And, of course, I'm going to get back to interviewing and stuff. So let me know what you thought in the comments. Extend the group. Let people know. Let's build. Let's turn this dark situation into a way through for the light. God bless you all. Have a great week. I'll see you all next week.